Hi, my name is John Mest. I was a former employee at GMC Truck and Coach. I was one of the people that hand-built the very first 3 of the motorhomes. But before we got to that point, I hired in Plant 6 off of Updike Road in Pontiac, Michigan. I was the mechanic over there on the end of the line 6. And it was a nice place to work at, a lot of nice people. And one day I had some people come in and they asked me if I wanted to go and work in the motorhome plant. And a lot of the people that I worked with all sat there and said, don't go. It's going to be a very short-lived, job. Probably a year, maybe 2 at the most. And I figured, I'd just hired in. I didn't have that much time. Figured, what the heck? I'm not going to lose much. I went over to the motorhome plant and worked over there. We actually hand-built the very first 3 on the assembly line, motorhomes. And they sat there and they said, we're going to go into production. Now everybody that came in hand-built these, we know what your specialties are, what you're capable of, and everybody gets a department. And we walked through the place and they said, that's your job, that's your job, that's your job. And when it got down to me, I was the last one in line. I said, there's no more place. He says, well, you see this big open area over here? He says, that's your department, your final finish. I says, final finish? They said, yeah. You fix what they don't do down the assembly line. You're the last one to see these. So, long story short, they told me that in the beginning, that empty space is going to look like a parking lot. And it was. But we enjoyed the job, and the people I worked with were wonderful. It just felt like home. And we got chances to make suggestions on some of the motorhomes that they were building, things to improve it, make it a little bit better. And the engineers told us, put it in a suggestion box. And if you get, if yours gets picked, you get paid. They paid you in savings bonds. Of course, you had to wait 7 years for that to mature, but in all, it was fun, extra money, and I enjoyed the job. The people were wonderful. We all felt like one big happy family. I got a nickname when I worked at General Motors as Wildman. And the reason why I got that nickname is I refused to wear a white shirt and tie. They said that when you become a foreman, you are more in charge of the people and they do the work, you supervise. I don't do that. I was no better than the rest of them. I worked right with them. And they said, you will wear a white shirt and tie, and I don't like white shirts or ties. So I went out and I had a white t-shirt and I had a tie painted onto the shirt. I came in and they just looked at me and they said, where's your white shirt and tie? I said, this is it. They went, and for initiation, they always cut your tie off and hang it over your door. Well, they cut the whole front of my shirt out and they hung that up over the door. I worked the whole rest of the day like that. And I still didn't wear a white shirt or tie. And I ended up, I had single strap overalls that I'd wear, clodhopper boots and a plaid shirt. And one day they had a bunch of Japanese people come in. We weren't allowed to take pictures. The little Japanese people are running around with cameras all over the place. One of the Japanese went up to the people that worked there and said, where's your supervisor? And they said, that guy over there. And they looked and they said, well, What guy over there? They're just workers. Well, he's the guy in the single strap coveralls. He says, go over there and talk to him. They came over and they said, well, why don't you wear a white shirt and tie? I says, I'm no better than the rest of these guys. I'm gonna work right alongside of them. You know, we all get together, all work together, and that's all there is to it. We get a better product if everybody works well together. So one foreman come in and he sat there and gave me the nickname Wildman because I looked like a wild man. It was fun, I enjoyed it, and the name kind of stuck for years. Basically, we had a lot of people that worked there that were very good workers. In the beginning, there was a lot of stuff that, let's put it this way, it's a new assembly line, new product, new people. Everybody's got to get used to doing their jobs. And some of the jobs that came down the line were, there's a lot of stuff that wasn't done. That's what Final Finish did. We corrected the problems. We had one person that was there and you just could not grasp the job, and I sat there and I said, look, I says, we can put you into a different job if you want to and see how you do. It worked out for him. And like I said, we all got along, we all worked together. Oh my God, there was some days that when you came in, we didn't have parts when we needed them. And they sat there and they said, well, we're out of taillights. Well, there's a van plant on the other side of Woodward Avenue, not far from the motorhome plant. And I sat there, I said, give me the keys to the truck. Where are you going? I'm gonna go get taillights. I'll be back in a little bit. So I had the general foreman call over there, tell him I was coming over to get the taillights. They said, well, how many do you need? I says, enough. So they put two big, humongous boxes. I mean, they were big. And we put those in the back of the truck and come back, and I brought them into the plant. And he says, where'd you get those? The van plant. Believe it or not, they used the same taillight lenses, or as taillights, on the motorhome as they did the vans. General Motors used everything that was in-house. The motor, the tranny, the steering column was Eldorado, the motor and tranny is Tornado. Granted, the axle assemblies and all that are beefed up, so they're not actually from the cars, but they had the same principle. A lot of the interior pieces were from different things. The way that they were built backwards. The bodies were upstairs, the frames were downstairs. The bottom plant was Building 29. That was an amphibious duck plant during World War II. And they built Plant 3 over the top of it, and they did the bodies upstairs, which weren't finished. They were just, everything was there. But when they came down, the body was dropped onto the frame and the frame went sideways. There was like a loading dock, and they had these ramps that attached to the back of the motorhome. And they slid sideways on that ramp, or that loading dock. And as they did, all the parts went in. And they were built from the dash backwards. The last piece to go on the motorhome was the very back part of it. And everything that went in was all basically modules, so it wasn't really that hard to hook up. The windows were put in downstairs. Like I said, everything for the body was done upstairs. And they actually cut a hole in the ceiling of Building 29. That's where the bodies came down. The assembly line were these big steel platforms that went sideways, and they went around down underneath the floor and all the way back to where the body went or got dropped on, came back up, and that's when everything started over. To see how everything went together, it was amazing. And after they were done, they drove off the line. They went around and they hit another area, and they came up through, and then they came by final finish, and that's where we took over. And I touched everyone that came out of that plant. So basically, every one of those motorhomes is my baby. I hate to say it, but I always wanted one. And the day I assembled the first one,